One of the things I learned after taking two businesses to $10,000 per month is that it's actually quite simple. All you really need to do is, well, do the work. And the business at the end that comes out that gets you $10,000 a month, there's usually not that much to it. Usually you won't have any employees. Usually the business itself will be very simple. And usually all it takes to get there is just committing to one business model and never stopping. Yep, 99% of people never get there. Why is that? Well, the same thing was happening to me. I didn't get there for about 3 or 4 years. It took me before I even, broke out of my job. It took me about 4 years to get to $2,000 a month because I just kept trying and learning random stuff and switching business models. I was on this business grind for 4 years and I still didn't manage to get these simple things right. But then I did something different for once. I completely forgot about business actually, and I went through my fitness journey. I went from 110 kilos, about 245 pounds, down to 79 kilos, or about 180 pounds. I lost all of that weight. I did calisthenics at the time, which is like body weight training. I got really good at calisthenics before. I couldn't do even one pull-up, then I got to about 12 pull-ups by the end. I did all of that. I went through some pain, and by coincidence, it's definitely not a coincidence, but by sheer coincidence, a month later, I started my first successful business. And the reason for that, the reason I succeeded, is it's not a coincidence. It's because 80% of getting to $10,000 per month is literally just a mind game. You have to fix your mind. And you might think that this doesn't apply to you. You might be like, oh, he's going to talk about mindset again. I'm going to click off this video. You're watching this because you are not at $10,000 a month yet. So if you think you don't need this video, you probably need it the most. So listen. The first thing you have to do to regain control of your mind is to learn to grind. Learn to embrace the grind and to work for long periods without getting interrupted, without going on your phone, without any of that stuff. And this is harder said than done because for once in your life, you don't have someone telling you what to do. You grew up, your parents were telling you what to do. You grew up in school and your teachers were telling you what to do and you had to listen. Then you got your job and you have to listen to your manager. All of your life, you have had to listen to someone. And for now, for the first time ever, you don't have to do that anymore. And that is hard because you don't know what to do. So when you don't know what to do, what do you tend to do? Waste time. It's so easy to waste time, go on TikTok, watch a bunch of shows, do anything that isn't work when you don't plan. And to be able to work uninterrupted for 3 hours at a time, make sure you plan out what you're going to do. And then when you sit down for those 3 hours of uninterrupted work, be honest with yourself. Audit how well you've been working in the last week. And be honest. How much did you lose focus? How much have you gone on your phone? How much did you click off completely and watch a YouTube video? Because that was a massive problem for me in the past. I used to work for 12 hours a day on my other channel, that one. I used to work on that channel for 12 hours, but in reality, if I'm honest, 8 or 9 of those hours were not focused. I was either lost, like my head wasn't functioning, I was just watching YouTube, or I was just completely distracted working on pointless stuff. Only about 3 to 4 hours of that time was actually useful work. That's why I say plan out what you're going to do. Only pick tasks that actually move you forward, and then sit down and do those tasks and do nothing else. Then let your mind rest. And by the way, the only time I have ever been able to reliably do this is bright and early in the morning. Later in the day, my brain just gets filled with too much stuff. Too many thoughts have entered my head throughout the day. I've lost my willpower. I've maybe consumed some stuff on social media, which has got me distracted. It's got me wanting to go back on my phone. The sooner you can get your work done in the day, the better. If you currently have a job and it starts at 9 a.m., great. You can wake up at 5 a.m. and use those 3 hours or at least 2 hours if you've got them to do the real work that is actually valuable to you, that is actually going to help you escape the shit path that you don't want to be taken, that you've realized you want to escape. So dedicate that time, wake up early, sacrifice that evening of fun that you would have had from your 9-to-5 job, temporarily sacrifice that and do your work in the mornings. It's going to be a whole lot easier to focus, and still to this day, I focus far better in the mornings. The second really important thing that you have to keep in mind when you're trying to make it and trying to make money online is controlling your doubts so that you don't self-sabotage. Now, you might think you don't have this problem, but listen up. This is literally the number one problem that I have amongst the clients that I work with, that I help make money online. I give them a piece of advice and they say, oh, I can't do that. I can't charge this much, or I can't teach this thing. Yes, you can. You need to realize that all of those things are doubts. There's other people that have had the exact same doubts. They did it anyway and they made it work. Ask yourself this question right now. Are you actually following the advice that I give to you in these videos? And genuinely ask yourself this, right? Because there might be a piece of advice that I've given you in the past that you were like, that's not me. I don't have to do that, or that doesn't apply to me. Really carefully think. What things have you said that to you? What things did you just dismiss in your head that you thought didn't apply to you? It's likely that those things are the most important things you can be focusing on. You're not avoiding them because, you didn't think it applied to you. You're probably avoiding them because you're scared, you're fearful, and you have doubts about following that piece of advice right now. So chances are following it will move the needle forward the best, the fastest for you. You probably don't want to follow what I say, certain things I say, because your brain is afraid. It's afraid to follow the advice I give you because, you're afraid of what might happen. But think about this, right? When someone is insistent on a piece of advice that it works, for example, I tell all my clients to sell something for over $500. I say that doesn't matter what niche they're in. I say, sell something for over $500. And I'm so insistent on that because I have been in the online marketplace, the online business space for years. And that is by far the easiest and best way to make money online up until 100. If you don't have 100,000 subscribers, you should be doing this. And that can be a big source of doubt for some people. They might not think they can charge that much, whatever. But when someone is insistent on that piece of advice, for example, this one, it likely means they had the same doubts that you have right now. It likely means that they have also dismissed it in their mind in the past, thought that it didn't apply to them when it did, and they wasted weeks, sometimes they wasted months, and that's why. And then they tried it, right? They tried it and it worked, and that's why they're so insistent on that piece of advice. So be careful. Make a list of things that you've dismissed and ask yourself the real reason that you're not doing it yet. The next thing you must do, keep in mind 80% of business is a mind game. So the next thing you must do is get really, really good. If there's one thing you should get really, really good at, is making it through these really, really long kind of grindy periods when nothing is happening, because that happens very often in online business. Success, it doesn't come linearly, right? It comes in waves. So you might have a big jump, then you'll stop for a while. You might have another big jump, then you'll stop for 3 months. Those 3 months will feel really difficult. It will feel like you're either going backwards, you're doing something really wrong. Oftentimes, that's just how it is, and you just have to stick it out. When I started my first YouTube channel, it took me 8 months before I, escaped my job and made enough money with it to go full time. But it took about 4 months before I got my first ever subscriber. This channel as well, I didn't monetize it for months. I posted videos on this channel for months before I decided to sell something. That was a grindy period. I didn't really know what I wanted to do with this channel. That's why I didn't monetize it yet. But those grindy periods will come often and you need to be prepared for them. And if there's one thing you can be really good at, is sticking through. Because think about it, 95% of the population is terrible at this. And that is why they make their first 5 YouTube videos, 10 YouTube videos, even 50 YouTube videos. They don't see any success, which is normal, and then they stop. That's why the majority of people fail at online business, and that is what you need to get really good at, sticking through those long periods. Another thing you must be careful of is your beliefs. Your beliefs shape what actions you take, which then shapes your reality. And the most important belief you can hold, and this sounds cringy, but it's literally just the fact that you can do anything as long as you work for it. Because this is actually the case. There's a lot of self-doubt you might have. And I'm here to tell you that no, you are not an introvert. No, you're not too self-conscious to film. All it takes is just sitting down and doing it. And over time, you will get used to it. You can do anything as long as you put in the work. You can mold yourself and your mind and your reality into whatever you want, as long as you actually perform the actions. At first, it's going to be really difficult because change is really difficult for us to deal with for some reason, right? Our brain doesn't want to change. But as soon as you kind of force your way through those first few days, few weeks of change, it becomes a lot easier. A thing I tell a lot of my clients as well when they start working with me is that first inputs are always the most difficult, right? Your first video is going to be the most difficult video you ever made. I remember my first YouTube video, I was talking about like my everyday carry. I was like quite into tech YouTube, right? And I just remember that first video, I was just talking about my wallet that I carried with me every day. I was talking about my AirPods that I carried with me every day. And I was just talking in this really monotone voice with this like really weird face because I was so stressed out. I was like, my head was just all over the place when I was recording that video. I was like, you're not meant to be doing this. What are you doing? You're an introvert. You're self-conscious. Like all of these thoughts were going through my head, but I still stuck through and I did it. Your first video will likely be no different. The same is true for all of my clients. Their first video, it's if they've never posted before, that is, their first video is always the most difficult to make. That's just the reality of life. But a relaxing fact is that it becomes a lot easier once you get used to it. I've been recording for 16 minutes now, right? I've been yapping for 16 minutes about mindset and business, and I didn't even notice the time pass. I just say words that the words just come out of my mouth naturally now. But before, I had to script out every word because as soon as I stopped talking, my mind would just be paralyzed. I wouldn't have any more thoughts to say. So always remember, first inputs are always the hardest. The second belief that I thought would be useful to mention, and it's also very cringy sounding, right, is that failure is the only path to success. Once you truly, because you've heard this before, you think you know it, right? But once you truly understand this fact, work and online business becomes a lot easier. Business is literally all about failure. You're going to fail all of the time. You're going to try 3 or 4 offers before your first sale happens. You're going to make 50 YouTube videos before one goes viral. Failure is just a natural part of business. And as soon as you can take the emotional, kind of negative emotions out of failure, the better your business journey will be. Because, you could be successful and still, like, every time you get a bad performing YouTube video, it will really lower your mood. This can still be a problem even after you've succeeded. But the sooner you can kind of get rid of this failure is bad mindset, the better. Because if you don't, business will be extremely stressful. And also remember that failure is a natural part of business, right? But another really relaxing fact is that it only needs to work once. When I decided to pivot to business videos on this channel from game development videos, I had like 4 or 5 videos that I made that didn't get many views, right? I still had kind of my game developer audience, so they got some views, but I knew I was sacrificing a lot of viewership by switching from game dev content to business content on this channel, right? But 5 videos in, I had one video get 50,000 views. And ever since then, I've been getting steady views whilst I was just talking about business. So remember, it only takes one video to go viral. It only takes like one person to buy your thing before your belief systems completely change. It only takes one success to change everything. After this, after you sort out your mind, succeeding and getting to about $10,000 a month is actually extremely simple. You can watch one of the videos I've made in the past where I break down my business model and all of that to learn more about that. Or you can click the link down below and book a call with me where, it's a free call and we talk about your situation. I talk about whether or not I can help you. If I can't help you, I point you in the right direction. If I can help you, I give you my offer, I tell you about my product, and we start working together. So if that sounds interesting, click the link below. Otherwise, I'll see you in the next video, my friend.